I've used it for 2 weeks already. Someone might bring something to try and counter it, so he's going to go away from it. I'd stick with my guns and I say Mysterious will take this, but he's probably more than happy to let him have one win with the Shaman.
I think my brain tells me Mysterious, but my heart tells me Osha. I think I'm going to go with my heart this time. I'm going to say 3-1 to Osha.
Okay, so we've got a 3-1 Mysterious and a 3-1 Osha. I think I'm going to go with you on this one, Dan. I'm going to go Mysterious, and I think probably about a 3-1 as well. I think the Shaman will win a game, but I do think that Mysterious will be able to take this series in the end. But that's our predictions down on the table, and we'll see whether the players are going to fulfill them or whether it's just going to be a completely different score altogether. To be honest, I wouldn't mind seeing a 3-2 after how quick the night has been so far. 2 3-0s in a row, which, to be honest, is not something I was expecting at all, but here we go. The game is underway, and Osha, with all of his wonderful little teacups behind him to support him. Surprised he's not playing the Cutlery Rogue.
So, that caught me off guard. Osha looks like he might be playing Enzoth Hunter here. Last week he brought mid-range Hunter, but he did get a win with mid-range Hunter against Enzoth Hunter, but I guess you just want to keep your opponent guessing, and you don't want to be too predictable, so you might bring different variants. I mean, Huge Toad might not be something that's in Enzoth Hunter. You could have it in mid-range or aggro Hunter, but seeing the Argent Squire, actually.
The Argent Squire and the Abusive Sergeant
makes it look aggro.
Yeah, lends towards a more aggro-based deck. And look at Mysterious's awful hand.
And I think this plays to what I was saying earlier about Green Sheep bringing aggressive decks that do beat these slow decks, that can win against Malygos Druid, that can beat the Control Fatigue Warrior if you can get a board presence early.
So with the Call of the Wild, this is sort of a more aggro-orientated mid-range, I would say. Just ramps up towards Call of the Wild. I wouldn't be averse to playing Huge Toad here. You know, there was the option, which would probably never get taken, of just the hero power, but then, you know, you've got to force answers from the Druid and somehow, and you're expecting Wild Growth to be the Druid's second-turn play, so you always play expecting that to be the play, to be honest. You never play around things like Wrath.
Wrath is important, though, that Mysterious can deal with some of this board early on. He does have Coin into Fandral next turn just to keep as much board presence as possible, and I think that's what you've got to do against any sort of deck that is going to be pumping out minions. You just need to get something on the board to contest it, try and force out the trades, and try and stall until that late game when these decks become so powerful. I
can't let the Abusive Sergeant hero power here play a little bit like you would Face Hunter, because you don't really have many other options at this point.
Yeah, and also, what do we reckon? Do we think we're going to see a Barnes coming out from Osha's deck here? Wouldn't be too surprised to see that in the lineup.
I mean, the Huge Toad lent me towards like Enzoth Hunter, which it typically does include Barnes, just because. I mean, why not include Barnes? If you've got high mains in your deck, I think that 1 in 12 or whatever it is, 1 in 15 is worth kind of having, because it can just completely change your game. It completely flip a game from its head and just win you the game outright from the start. Mysterious does have to coin out Fandral, which he probably won't get any value from it if it is removed, and there are tools to remove it for Osha, and I think Osha will have to remove it, to be honest.
Yeah, they don't feel particularly nice, the tools to remove Fandral, but like you said, Fandral is one of those minions that literally just commands respect. So
I like as well that he didn't use the Abusive last turn.
Yeah.
And it means that he now has the tools to actually remove that Fandral from the board.
Well, yeah, the only difference being that you would have lost the Abusive had you used it last turn, but you would have got 2 extra damage to face. He does have Living Roots in hand, though. Living Roots would be a great shout, because he can then take out one of these 2-1s, or rather one of the 1 health minions on board with hero power, and then just bring down 2 saplings as well. It's going to be another Raven Idol.
He's going to decide not to use the Raven Idol, use the Living Roots instead, just to... Is he reckoning to play 2 1-1s here?
I think
rather than deal with 2 damage?
Well, these contest the Argent Squire regardless. Oh, it is Enzoth, okay.
Yeah, okay, so there is the Enzoth. I mean, I was a bit confused with just... I mean, Abusive Sergeants at the moment are in pretty much most aggressive to mid-range deck, and that's one of the reasons why it is going to be nerfed in the latest update. It's going to be turned into a 1-1 rather than a 2-1, so it doesn't have that early contestant of the board, but less of that. Let's look at what Osha can do here, because, I mean, are you quick shot in a 1-1 here?
No, I think you just accept the fact that you're going to leave a 1-1 on board and literally just hero power.
I mean, the late game for Osha is looking pretty fantastic, and I said that this Malygos Druid, well, I mean, presuming it's a Malygos Druid, we haven't seen Malygos yet, is so powerful late game, but when you can go high main into something else and then Call of the Wild, and then you've got Enzoth to follow up at the end as well, you've already had Huge Toad die. I mean, even if just Huge Toad and Savannah have died, I mean, that's still quite a healthy turn 10 play.
Druid struggles with Enzoth, especially against Hunter, which will bring back things like Savannah high main. Druid struggles against anything that floods the board, because you only have Swipe to deal with it. Speaking of, going to be a pretty easy Azure Drake turn here for Mysterious, followed by a pretty easy Savannah high main turn for Osha. But the issue for Osha is that there are tools now for Mysterious in hand to burn through that Savannah high main, like the Swipe, for instance.
And a lot of the wins that we've seen coming out of Malygos Druid have been against other Malygos Druids. And when you are in this situation where you have to kind of stare down an aggressive or to mid-range deck, it does feel quite bad, and I wonder if players are going to start leaning away from Malygos Druid just because people are now starting to bring lineups to try and counteract it.
So here is a question for you, Dan.
Okay.
This turn, do you swipe the Savannah high main, or do you just play Emperor? Looks like he's just playing.
Regardless of what Mysterious was going to do there, I would naturally lean towards the Emperor just because you've got a healthy amount of cards that you can reduce in your hand, and you can get some form of board presence.
Pog Champ, everybody. It's double Call of the Wild into Enzoth. If Enzoth even is going to be the play. He hasn't really lost many death rattles.
And another card that is going to be facing the Nerf Hammer, the Call of the Wild, will be a 9 mana rather than 8 when that update does come into effect. Is it next week it comes into effect? It's certainly
indeed.
before the last call tournament, isn't it?
It's before the last call tournament. They've not actually announced a specific date, but
so we don't know whether it's going to come into play before next week's Prem matches.
It
but
seems very likely that it will, yeah.
Okay, well, regardless, Osha will have double Call of the Wild to follow up here, and
he's actually going to quick shot the 1-1 maybe, because he doesn't want the Savannah high main to get taken out as easily.
I mean, having that Savannah high main next turn would be amazing.
I think quick shot onto the 1-1 here is fine.
Sure.
Because you're not going to get any value out of the quick shot for card draw, right? I mean,
yeah.
You don't need it. If you have time to play double Call of the Wild plus Enzoth, you've probably won the game by then.
So how impactful is this Ancient of War going to be if it is indeed the choice? Because there are multiple choices right now for Mysterious. He could flood the board with the Teacher. He could probably not play Arcane Giant. If you're going to play Arcane Giant, you'd probably just play Ancient of War.
So he might Teacher into Swipe.
Pay attention, class.
Yeah, I mean, he has that free Raven Idol, so the Teacher makes sense, because you just get immediately an extra minion. And also another spell, which could be a Power of the Wild, just to buff up the minions even further.
Especially with an Innovate in hand as well. Doesn't get it.
Mark of Nature doesn't feel awful, though. Neither does Mark of Yishaj, really. He's actually then going to... Oh, yes, he could do that with the Ancient of War too, so that does make it slightly more difficult for Osha here.
I kind of preferred just getting rid of the high main, but I guess...
I think the goal was just to make this turn specifically awkward for Call of the Wild. It's never going to feel great throwing 2 minions into that Ancient of War.
Also, you've got the follow-up. The long game for Mysterious was Azure Drake into Swipe here, potentially.
Yeah, it definitely was. I've just seen that.
Yeah, and he's now got Power of the Wild. It's looking pretty juicy.
But Call of the Wild will come out next turn.
Oh my goodness.
It's too good to go for the swipe. You can't not swipe here. The double Power of the Wild looked great, but
yeah, but that could always be something that happens next turn.
Sure.
We'll be able to clear away the Leok, then get a little bit of damage to face. Another Call of the Wild available, as well as a Fiery Bat.
Do you just Call of the Wild Abusive Sergeant your Huffer and just go face?
I think you've got to get rid of the Teacher.
Yeah, I was thinking about this, but you do just lose Huffer, so maybe you just use Fiery Bat as well.
Use Fiery Bat, get rid of the Teacher, hope the Fiery Bat's going to die. If it doesn't, you kill it off next turn, and then you've got Enzoth, which will summon a Fiery Bat, a Huge Toad, and a Savannah High Main.
Sure.
But are you kind of staring down a barrel where there's going to be too much power on board that you're going to be dead anyway?
Well, there's 2 Power of the Wilds right now, as well as that Mark of Nature.
And
basically a free Arcane Giant at the
Yeah.
end of that turn.
Well, because
this is looking scary.
So he could double Power of the Wild. He could Arcane Giant first if he wanted to, just to get both those Power of the Wilds and buff that up even more, then innovate out the Mark of Nature and turn that into a 14 taunt.
Which the Hunter's just not going to get through because Deadly Shot would be too inconsistent. That kind of just seals the game in the bag, but I think any play just seals the game in the bag here for Mysterious.
So it's like instead he's going to use it aggressively.
Yeah, going to get that 5 damage onto one of the Acolytes. And I wouldn't mind... He's going to go for first. I'm curious to see whether he'll innovate the second one here. He's going to go just going all in on this play right now. And he's going to be able to do a lot of damage right now. He's going to go for the trades though, does not want to go face.
No need to. When he's seen both Call of the Wilds, he said, look, what's your answer here? I mean, he's going to be like, yeah, okay, you can play Enzoth, but you're not summoning any taunts. You're not stopping me hitting that face. And there is going to be no answer for Osha here. I don't even think Barnes can pull anything to save him. So Mysterious should be going 1-0 up.
You're right, no taunts have been lost in Death Rattle. Osha knows it, Mysterious knows it. Game sealed, said, and done here. And that is a 1-0 up in this series for Mysterious.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mysterious taking the lead in this one. And that is going to be his Druid out of the way now. So moving forward in the series, let's remember Osha still has that Shaman to fall back on. So that could be a huge factor in this series. And it could be what Osha needs to kind of get some momentum going for himself and actually get him to put his best foot forward and make sure that he's the one actually in the driving seat.
So people hate talking about deck selections in Conquest because you have to pick all of them at some point, right? But I like to sometimes consider it just because of the mental boost it can give you to actually pick yourself up and get a win on the board. Strategically, it almost makes zero difference what you end up picking unless you're absolutely certain you know what your opponent's going to be picking and you want to get the win. But like you said, you have to queue all of your decks in anyway at some point. So, you know, if I were Osha, I probably would just bring the Shaman out and say, okay, well, I'm going to just queue it in. I want to get a win on the board. It will make me feel better. I'll start to maybe relax a little bit more during the series. I'll take some time with my plays. But he is going to go straight back into the Hunter, and he's got a very nice opening hand, but can probably afford to get rid of some of these 1-drops.
Yeah, I think maybe just throwing away a Fiery Bat here just to maybe search for a 3-drop or a 4-drop. But it depends what you're expecting from your opponent and what you think they might have. Osha does look like he's actually just going to keep everything, which could get punished by what we saw. It was the explosive trap on the hand of Mysterious. So there's a lot of board flooding that Osha can do, but there's a lot of answers on Mysterious's side. Explosive trap and Unleash the Hounds.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Firebat going to be the first port of call. And I'm curious to see whether Osha tries to play around an explosive trap here, because it's not something that he'd necessarily be expecting. It's not something that pops into mind immediately when you go against a Hunter and you're playing this aggressive style. I mean, saying that, I mean, like, explosive trap, not that common right now.
No, it's certainly not. I mean, even with the secret decks that we saw earlier from players like Ball Control, there was loads of secrets, but there was no explosive traps unless they were just at the bottom of their deck. It was pretty much everything but.
This is why I find it interesting that not more people have considered bringing explosive trap as a tech-in card, given the amount of zoo right now and given how many Hunters that do run these early game threats. I genuinely think like explosive trap is a good tech-in for a secret Hunter if you know that you're going to be playing against things like zoo. So I think this could be a really crucial card for Mysterious. They could actually almost single-handedly secure him this mirror matchup, depending on how well Osha decides to play around something like Explosive Trap. You probably will always have it in your mind, just given the prevalence of Explosive Trap in previous iterations of Hunter over the last few months, but it might be difficult.
And Osha's just going to play into it as well, because Mysterious now can put that Explosive Trap down with obviously the Cloaked Huntress as well to put some presence on board, and it'll be how Osha tests it actually. Perhaps Mysterious might even consider not playing it with the Cloaked Huntress, because if he puts the Cloaked Huntress on board, Osha is more likely to try and trade effectively and try and play for that freezing trap However, if there's nothing else but the Kindly Grandmother, he may be less... He doesn't really want to trade into that Kindly Grandmother, so he's more likely to go face for the test.
So what Mysterious can do here is actually trade into one of these 2-1s first. He'd probably better trade off into the middle Fiery Bat, because that means the Death Rattle will proc first and that'll go straight to face and have no impact on the Grandmother or rather the Wolf that spawns. Then he can play Cloaked Huntress and an Explosive Trap, because you then at least retain something on board following, pending no Eaglehorn Bows, which we know obviously Osha has got.
Well, Eaglehorn Bow certainly an option. Could also just coin out Infested Ghoul if he wants to try and build himself up some board presence, but obviously the secret is down now. We know that's an Explosive Trap, but will Osha be expecting this? And I'm curious to see what he'll do to try and test for this, whether he's going to attack first with the Argent Squire. Will do so. And well, he knows it's not a snake trap. He knows it's not a freezing trap.
This is what I mean by going for the line of play of not even playing that Huntress, is because it meant that Osha was able to test it. I mean, it might have left his board a little bit vulnerable, but now Osha can put himself in a position where he can say, look, okay, well, if it is Explosive Trap next turn, I'm only going to get rid of a 1-1.
Yeah, but the Cloaked Huntress is there. What can happen now is tracking and Cloaked Huntress into another trap.
Well, let's see what he's going to get from the tracking. Savannah Highmane, Eaglehorn Bow, and Snipe. Snipe would be pretty decent considering turn 4 coming up, Infested Wolf available.
All of these are pretty crucial cards, to be honest, in this matchup. Snipe gives you immediate value with your Cloaked Huntress. If you lose your Eaglehorn Bow, you lose one of the main reasons that Secret Hunter is so good, because you're able to continuously get you charges on the Eaglehorn.
It also means that he can take down this Argent Squire if he doesn't want to give too much value out of just the Argent Squire disappearing. But instead, he's just gonna wham that Eaglehorn Bow into face.
It into the face. He wants to he wants to get a bow charge for free, essentially, at this point. Dan, don't worry, buddy. I'm used to that kind of line of play. Wang into the face.
That's what you live for, isn't it, mate?
Absolutely.
Well, it's gonna...
I heard you wanged into Joe's face earlier with the meme Warlock he had.
Please stop.
That was the worst wanging of my life. But that is going to be the Explosive Trap procced now, so Osha can... Well, do you play the Infested Wolf here into an Eaglehorn Bow? Is it worth it?
I mean, you still get value. You've got your Enzoth Hunter. You don't really care about really, unless you want to contest board, but you don't mind too much about your Death Rattles going down.
Suppose, well, there is also the line of play of just playing the Kindly Grandmother, maybe even just hero powering, just trying to start to get some damage down.
Or coin Animal Companion so you protect your Kindly Grandmother as well.
I like Infested Wolf because there is still going to be something on the board if it does get cleared.
And they are still beasts as well.
They are still beasts, and Animal Companion could give you Leok, which could make those 1-1s 2-1s. Unleash the Hounds could be an answer for them, but it doesn't feel great to use it in that way.
Coin Trick or Cat Trick will be pretty solid, though.
Come midnight.
Certainly options available for both players right now. And Osha, I feel like, needs to start to draw in something a little bit more powerful, needs to start searching for these Savannah Highmanes, because he's slowly but surely running out of threats to actually be dropping on the board. Now Cat Trick's down.
It's interesting that he used the bow charge into the deadly, or the infested wolf there, because that's telegraphed that it's definitely not freezing trap, and it's opened up that it could be explosive trap. So he's almost promoting the trade into the Cloaked Huntress at this point. He's going to test for Snipe with Kindly Grandmother. It's not Swipe, my friend, so he's still playing into Cat Trick or Explosive Trap. And this is just a method of sort of process of elimination that you have to go through when you play against this particular type of hunter.
Would you consider... Oh, no.
You trying to empty the hand and get all the quick shot value out? Or?
No, I was going to say you could quick shot 3-3, so then you have a quick shot if it is a Cat Trick, but Cat Trick comes out in stealth, so it's very unlikely that that would be an effective strategy. And here comes Leok onto the scene, Cat Trick procced.
Leok's probably the worst one into Cat Trick, but actually that's a lie. Huffer would have been the best. Both Misha and Leok are poor.
I'd say specifically against Catrick, I'd say Leok's slightly better than Misha. Because if they go for the trade anyway, at least you've buffed up your minions a bit, right?
Sure, at least you got the extra damage. You are actually completely correct there. You got 1 extra damage from your infested wolf spiders. So
1 damage hype.
Yeah, Misha would have been the worst. It may seem obvious to go straight for Savannah Highmane here, but I think Mysterious is weighing up his plays with Unleash the Hounds to clear the entire board.
Which probably also just counted lethal as well,
Yeah,
seeing how
sure.
close he was, because he is getting in that kind of range. I mean, some kill commands off the top would certainly make it a possibility. Eagle Horn Bow isn't great for Osha here. I mean, he might have to Eagle Horn Bow quick shot into coin quick shot.
Do you know what? That's exactly the play I was thinking. Just do it. Like, empty the hand.
Does look like he might have tapped that hero power though. Yeah.
And then coin into quick shot so that next turn. But next turn, if you draw something like Call of the Wild, then the other quick shot's dead. And you don't have any plays to make. So
is this lethal? 6, 9, 11, 12, 13. So he's 1 off at the moment. Ooh,
yeah, he's still 1 off.
Still 1 off.
So it's a race against time. Do you just Unleash the Hounds to clear the board as much as you can?
Yeah, I think so. I think you've just got to make sure you stay alive here. You want to clear those beasts off the board. You don't want to be playing into kill command. So perhaps even something like taking down Kindly Grandmother first, then Unleash the Hounds, high-maining down something, probably the 3-2 that comes out of Kindly Grandmother, killing off the spider, then you've got 1-1 that can go to face, then you have some beasts that are on the board to be pumped up by Call of the Wild next turn when Leok gets summoned.
I wonder.
But you are worried about your life total, for sure. It's going to be frustrating knowing that he's 1 off lethal right now as well.
Quickly.
Call of the Hound will come out as well as the Kindly Grandmother. So just trying to make sure that he maintains control of the situation right now. And he's actually going to trade the Hounds into the 3-2 and then the Highmane onto the 1-1 as well. Just making sure that there's not really an answer available from Osha.
Huffer is lethal here.
Yes, it is. The old school role of always Huffer.
Never Huffer.
Never ever
lucky.
Huffer. But it does still have the card draw from Quick Shot. I'm trying to think if there's... I don't think there's anything it could have drawn though.
Nope, and that will be game for Mysterious, in fact. Because Call of the Wild will add that 5 damage.
Mm-hmm.
It certainly will.
And Osha loses the 1 and 3, and it's just going to be... It's another frustrating loss for Osha, and it was similar to last season. He gets so close, but then...
But so far.
But so far.
Yeah, unfortunate for Osha there, but we're not done just yet. That is 2 in the bag now for Mysterious. He still has his warrior remaining. Is this the moment where you just bring out the Shaman? Just because it's Shaman?
I mean,
Do we think it's that powerful?
It depends what he's worried, what warrior he can bring. Last week, Mysterious brought Enzoth Warrior, and I mean, Shaman actually can really can overwhelm that Enzoth Warrior.
End of the day, at this point, you bring whatever the hell you feel like, because you have to win against the deck you're playing into Mysterious with every single one of your decks. So that people always say, maybe I just get it over with quickly and queue my worst matchup in, and if I lose, I lose. Because end of the day, you're going to have to go through that matchup at some point. This is the point where it really doesn't matter much at all.
I guess, are we thinking about differences when it comes to the table? Win-loss?
That's a long-term...
Is that something that they are considering? Perhaps they're saying, well, okay, would it look better on my record if it's a 3-1 loss rather than a 3-0? I can't remember if did that come into play last season? Did we have some sort of win-loss ratio?
Yeah, it goes on head-to-head, but then if the head-to-head remains a tie, we'll go on to score difference. Well, that's what we did last season, at least, unless the rules have changed. I can't say I've checked the rule book this season, but...
How dare you!
But yeah, it's certainly a factor that could come into play in a very specific circumstance.
I don't believe Enzoth Warrior has got a win this week. And I don't believe it had that great success last week.
I mean, Enzoth at all has had a win this week.
No, true.
Last week, Mysterious went 2-0 down against Raven, I believe, because he lost twice with Enzoth Warrior. He lost to Dragon Warrior and then lost to Enzoth Hunter. So he has stuck with his guns and he has brought it with him because it did beat Malygos Druid last week, so people are kind of bringing it as just a counter to that. Flame Tongue Totem off the top
doesn't feel great.
I mean, it's something, but it could probably just be Fiery War Axe down, right?
Exactly, you're worried about fireworks. The Taunt's actually not bad because it saves the Divine Shield of your 1/1. I guess at this point, Mysterious, you just do take out the totem, but it does preserve that Divine Shield, which could be important. And actually, he's not even going to bother. So this is where Flame Tongue could just come down. Obviously, plays into Bash, but push some damage.
The mid-range variant of Shaman certainly can beat the Enzoth Warrior. I prefer Face Shaman personally, just because I want to get as much early presence as possible and really push that damage and just hope they don't have that removal. But when you do get to a situation where the Control Warrior has like used those brawls, you do have the tools to kind of rebuild your board with the totem rolls, with the Thunderbluff variant to kind of make those totems worthwhile as well. But there is a lot of early game threat from Mysterious. He does have the shield block to kind of search for more cards, get more armor. He's got Bash, he's got Infested Tauren, he's got the Execute. I mean, I remember saying this last week with Mysterious in some of these games, being like, oh, he's got all the early stuff, but he was still losing games. But he wasn't against the Shaman, because we don't very often see the Shaman.
I almost think that this is a big turn for Osha, because he is really wondering, do I just start getting totems out? Because obviously we know that this is a totem variant, that when Thunderbluff Valiant comes down, it can have a huge impact. The more totems you get out, the more that thing from below gets discounted. So, and also you're going to try and keep him using not using that Fiery War Axe, which can eventually build up in your favour. At this point now, you can totem again, and then use your Flame Tongue, and suddenly you've got a fairly substantial looking board.
And it's the thing, when you do have all these totems on board, I mean, usually you'd be thinking, oh, wow, they're only totems, they're not really doing anything, they're just 0/2s. But because you know that Thunderbluff is in the deck, because you know that things like Bloodlust do exist, you're then, as the warrior, thinking, do I have to use my Brawl here on these 5 totems?
Do you know that Zixo runs Totemic Might in his Shaman totem, because it plays around the ability for things to get, like, bashed, for instance, or beaten down by Fiery War Axe. So
of course.
I think Bash is an obvious answer here to the 0/3 Flame Tongue totem, and it does mean that you're going to delay the turn of Mysterious ever so slightly. It's about whether he bothers using this Fiery War Axe yet.
I'm still going to just hold on to that one. And with 2 Thunderbluff Valiants in hand, do you think this is worth just playing it on the board without being able to proc it immediately?
It's always worth considering. I don't like it just because of things like Execute. They do exist.
Sure.
It may force out a Brawl.
Yeah, I quite like actually just playing Mana Tide and Hero Powering again. So if the Brawl does come through, it's a very low value Brawl.
Exactly. I think if you put the Drake on the board or you put the Thunderbluff on the board, then if you lose that Brawl, you feel a little bit sad. But I definitely agree with you. Just shove as many totems on board, and it just looks intimidating because you know that Thunderbluff is a possibility.
For sure. And when you build up to turn 7,
exactly,
and you have Thunderbluff, Hero Power, and you've got, what, 4 or 5 totems on board, that actually starts to become a real issue.
Yeah, one concern, though, you got to think about is, if you drop another 2 totems this turn, when you start to get towards turn 7, do you have space on the board to drop Thunderbluff and a totem?
That's very true. And if Mysterious doesn't remove anything, then yeah. But then even in this Brawl outcome, it isn't the worst in the world for Osha. You've only got 1 minion on board that you really want to protect. And actually, how worried are you as Mysterious about what you're facing down at this point in time? Is there a case for just Ironforge Portal or just Infested Tauren, for instance?
Mysterious certainly seems to think so. Is going to drop that Infested Tauren down on the board.
So it's now whether Osha is going to go down the route of, okay, my turn 7 play is Thunderbluff plus Hero Power, I have to make sure I've only got 5 minions on board, or whether he's just like, I really want to be encouraging this Brawl before I play either of my Thunderbluffs. I know I can build up my board very easily by just constantly toteming, so perhaps he goes for something like a Feral Spirit, or just goes for a Mana Tide totem.
What I think would be good potentially is using the Azure Drake to trade initially, and then trade your 1/1 and your 1/2 in. He's actually going to think, he's guaranteed the Wrath of Air totem, so he can use Maelstrom Portal and get a 3, and also gets the actually moderately threatening, especially with Shaman, young Dragonhawk, because obviously you've got to think about things like Rockbiter weapon. They are a real thing.
Rest in peace, Rockbiter
Yep,
weapon.
another weapon that's fallen to the Nerf hammer, which is a shame for the shaman. Hey, see what I did there? Combined your way of saying it. No? Okay, just me.
Top lad.
Top kick.
What do you mean combined?
Because I said shame. Shaman. It's a shame. Ah, my jokes are lost on you. Brawl will come out from Mysterious, and that will be good for Osha, considering that he hasn't played either of his Thunderblasts yet.
Hey, Lamau. Well, that is going to be the worst case result coming out for Mysterious. The Azure Drake survives. And now a thing from below arrives in the hand of Osha as well. This is starting to look pretty darn good. You can even consider just straying away, or do you go for the Thunderbluff Valiant into Totem, into Thing from Below?
I quite like Mana Tide, Hero Power, Thing from Below, and then you can think about the Thunderbluff the following turn. Yeah.
More immediate power, more immediate
Or
kind of
possibly
result.
even Feral Spirit.
You flood the board too much if you're going to use Thing from Below and Hero Power as well, and you can't use Thunderbluff Below the following turn. It's a real concern for Osha.
He's going to get his spell power totem, but not really anything to use it right now with. Lightning Storm in hand, currently on 4 to 5 damage.
Hey,
Spirit Claws. Certainly going to be great
Oh,
next
second
turn.
Brawl. Now, it's important that he's got that second Brawl, but he needs to be careful not to use it too early, and this is what I mean, that this mid-range Shaman is so threatening and it constantly builds up a board, it forces out the Brawls, but then you just are like, okay, your Brawls are gone, now I start to buff up my totems.
Exactly. Now I have literally no worry about going straight in.
Brawl, I don't know if you even know if you need to use the Thunderbluff to do so, you could just use Tuskar Totemic.
Yeah, for sure.
Use it while it's still got its value.
I mean, I still think Tuskar Totemic will still play, will still see play, especially in something like this, in the mid-range deck, because you're still getting the value out of it. It's going to be losing out. The aggro Shaman is going to be losing out mainly from that.
Well, he's going to be able to clear away the Savage Combatant. Start to get some damage down to face, and that Mana Tide lasting a couple of turns is going to be a concern for Mysterious. Like, this isn't just a single threat board. This is actually starting to get dangerous for Mysterious now. 16 HP remaining, and he's got to seriously consider maybe this is a brawl turn, but realistically, there's not that many great situations that come out of it. You've got about a 50-50.
50-50 to clear the board, totally. There's also a 50-50 for it to go wrong and you have to burn and execute too, so... There is a case for just Justicar and Armor up here and take out the 2-3, but you obviously get a super valuable trade on the side of Osha in terms of his 3-1 getting...
Yeah.
But then can you do that? Bait the commit to the board from Osha and then use the Brawl? Because that almost could potentially secure you the game.
All he needs to commit, though, is just another hero power, right? And just that built up his board so much. I mean, realistically, at that point, he's not in a huge rush to finish the game.
He's got to use the execute here.
Might coin out shield block here.
He's going to use the coin at some point.
Looks like he might actually coin out Acolyte. Yeah, he is. He wants to be trying to cycle through his deck and finding more armor gain, I think. More answers, because he's going to need them.
You could just Tuskar Totemic, Hero Power, Totem Golem, Argent Squire here and set up for a very, very big Thunderbluff Valiant following. Oh, that's not bad as well.
Mana Tide as well. Things are looking up for Osha right now. Mysterious, without too many answers, does have that shield block in hand as well as Fiery Warrex, so he does still have some outs. However, this board is going to start to look incredibly scary once again for Osha.
Yeah, now that both Brawls are gone, you can flood the board as much as you like, as long as you're trying to play around Revenge, because obviously Revenge is a real card. I think, actually, he can't play around Revenge now unless he heals the Warrior, so if you can't play around Revenge, why bother playing around Revenge? Maybe don't use the Feral Spirits, though, but Hero Power and Argent Squire, I think, is fine, especially if you get the Wrath of Air Totem.
Yeah, the Wrath of Air Totem would be huge right now. just to finish off that Acolyte.
You don't have a lot of time here, Osha.
Yeah. Actually, just going to hit face with the weapon. I think he realizes that he needs to try and end the game soon, because Justicar is a card that is in this deck.
Bash is great as well.
Armor will come out. Gets a nice little bit of card draw as well using that Acolyte. So Mysterious has opportunity to find answers here. He's even got a shield block in hand if he feels like he needs to look for even more
Could
cards.
just slam Gromash too, you know, and go into the Totem Golem.
Yeah.
Shield block into something like a shield slam would be really nice.
Sure.
We haven't seen either shield slams yet either.
Revenge.
Oh, Revenge is pretty good. Do you want to save that though? You've already used both brawls. Can you risk using your board clear on just 3 minions?
So he's probably just going to clear the the Mana Tide and then bash the Tuskar, right? Just leave the one totem on board so it's not too threatening. Like, Revenge is definitely going to come into play. And you said, should Osha have been playing around the Revenge, right? If he had left him on 13, then that Revenge wouldn't have been doing 3 damage.
Yeah, that's a real... That is a real thing to consider.
Well, actually, to be honest, with the answers that Mysterious has been finding, despite how good this game was looking for Osha, it's not necessarily just over at this point. Like a few turns ago, it was definitely feeling like everything was looking good for Osha. It looked like he might be able to get this one on the board, but definitely Mysterious is not out of this game just yet.
He needs like a Ravaging Ghoul or something to be able to finish off these 4 health minions on top of Revenge. So I think Osha may well play Totem Golem. Obviously after Tunnel Trog, so Tunnel Trog gets the buff, but just putting stuff on the board that is going to survive a Revenge. I still think Osha's in good shape just because he can build up a board so easily. I mean, stuff like he's got another Feral Spirit in his deck as well. And just having that ability to constantly build up a board is always hard to get rid of as the warrior.
Ravaging Ghoul would be devastating. Double Revenge is also devastating.
But that works. That's a board clear, isn't it?
That's a board clear.
Is it overcommitting the board clear?
No, I actually think Double Revenge into Justicar True Heart seals the game for Mysterious.
It's certainly a tricky one though for Mysterious, because obviously we have the foresight of knowing what's in the hand of Osha. He doesn't have that privilege.
I mean, what are you really expecting at this point in time? Osha's cycled large portions of his deck. You've seen most of the threats come out.
Looks like he's going to slam first.
Single Revenge could be fine here, or Double Revenge into Barnes. All of these plays are good.
So, 1 Revenge going to come out. That's going to clear 2 of the minions. 3 1-1s remain. I think he was just going to slam to see if he could get the Ravaging Ghoul, because that would have just been perfect scenario right there. The Barnes comes out. We'll see what he's going to get for his 1-1. It's going to be the Ravaging Ghoul.
There's the Ravaging Ghoul.
Not quite the right Ravaging Ghoul, though.
Double Revenge come through now. Now I think Osha just has to say balls to the wall, essentially, and go crazy.
So he could roll for the Spell Power Totem plus play Blood Mage. That's a guaranteed clear of the board with Lightning Storm.
Yeah.
It's 50-50 just with Blood Mage.
And then follow up maybe with... Have you got enough mana? No, you don't have enough mana to follow up, no.
Spirit, no. Feels like a lot of... feels like a lot to just use on a 3-4 and a 1-1. But you need to be clearing the board and trying to build up your own board. That's the way you're going to win. But unfortunately, with Justicar and with Gromash in the hand, this is going to hurt for Osha, especially because he was looking in such good shape as well. I think that Double Revenge is really going to be a key moment for Mysterious.
The Wrath of Air Totem comes on down, but doesn't have a Spirit Clause or anything like that, so... But there goes the Blood Mage Thanos as well. And he's going to be able to build up somewhat of a board, but nothing too crazy.
This is what I mean, he just has to build up as much as he can and just hope that there's no real removal from Mysterious. He's seen a lot of removal there, but unfortunately Mysterious is going to have a Grommash Hellscream, which is just a fantastic minion to put on the board. Not only does it have the charge in it, obviously clears some of the board, but it's 10 damage. That's just going to be a threat right there.
The only other win condition that sits in the only other win condition that sits in Osha's deck is the double Rockbiter Alakir the Windlord, which could genuinely be a real threat. But you're going to remember the max damage for that is 18. So you're out of range of that just being single-handedly winning the game right here for Mysterious.
Yeah, and Osha might have to use the Hex onto Grommash, but then that will allow Sylvanas to come down, which I feel like Sylvanas hasn't come down because he's worried about that Hex and because he doesn't want that Hex to happen. But the Hex should... Well, I think the Hex has to come out here onto the Grommash, to be honest.
Yeah, and then you follow up with the Lightning Storm.
So we'll be able to play the board. Gets a little bit of overcharge onto his Trog as well. But Justica Trueheart still in the hand of Mysterious. And actually N'Zoth now as well. Do you play your Sylvanas just to kind of buff up the N'Zoth for later, or do you consider just armor Trueheart armor?
I like armor Trueheart armor.
I think you put the game pretty much out of reach.
I have no time for games.
Okay.
Well, she has no time for games, Dan.
Sorry.
So whether the game's out of reach or not, Sylvanas is having none of it.
This is a problem for Osha now. So, okay, here is where I'm going with this particular line of thought, my friends.
I'm ready.
Do you take the 1 and 4, go for the Spirit Claws, get the guaranteed trade into Sylvanas, and you don't steal anything, and you don't lose your Rockbiter as a win condition? Or do you straight up Rockbiter, just play your Thunderbluff Valiant and say, I need something on board?
I think you Rockbiter, then Thunderbluff, then Hero Power. You've got a board presence. We've seen a lot of removal from Mysterious. And then you go from there. Because if he can't remove that Thunderbluff, then you're starting to put a 2-2 on board every turn.
I guess he's basically throwing that... There's no way I get this double win condition of double Rockbiter Alakir coming through now. So I just have to try and start to build up my board once more. Execute from Slam or off the top would be absolutely devastating for Mysterious. Otherwise, he could just think about either N'Zoth or Hero Power, Justicar Hero Power.
So go for the Slam, go for the card draw, see what you can find off the top. Execute would be wonderful, but he just gets the Ravaging Ghoul, so that means that it will survive again. Actually, he could go for Acolyte of Pain into Ravaging Ghoul to continue that search, but he might now be starting to worry about his life total. I do prefer just searching, though, because I don't think we've seen either Execute. We've seen one Execute, there's definitely one left.
One more would be pretty much shutting the game out for Osha. I think it's almost shut out anyway.
There's another Ravaging Ghoul. Just a bit of a pain for Osha, but he could just get the healing totem off of his next totemic call. Let's see what he is going to get. He does get a healing totem, so Ravaging Ghoul not going to finish off that his totem that's already down. So he's starting to build up a little bit of a board for himself.
Yeah, and the Hex is going to be important as well, because if the decision is N'Zoth comes down, which I don't think it even can be at this situation,
you get
you've got the Sylvanas.
Infested Tauren as well,
and Infested Tauren is important, yeah.
I actually genuinely think N'Zoth next turn is fine. You're actually at 23 life now, so...
You need to find the best way to kill this Thunderbluff, really. But there's very little search tools left for Mysterious now. He's going to be hoping for that Execute. I don't know how many cards are remaining for him.
Would you even consider hexing the Acolyte to prevent draw? Is it going to come down to a matter of cards at this point in time?
I mean, it's definitely a consideration that Osha is going to have to make. He should be expecting N'Zoth, of course, because you've seen the Infested Tauren, you've seen the Sylvanas. I think you save it for Sylvanas because Sylvanas could be very impactful. I was going to say this line of play, using the Thunderbluff just to clear off the Acolyte, and then going face with this totem because it heals up to a 4-2, and there shouldn't be anything to remove it just yet.
Yeah, so... Still
Shield Slam.
He's on the board, but not for very much longer with Shield Slam in hand. Another Ravaging Ghoul goes down.
Not sure why he Ravaging Ghoul there. I don't think he knows either. I think he just shook his head like...
His face right there is like, what? Why? What am I doing? There it is.
Just played the Ravaging Ghoul.
Well, I think it's because he just got the answer. He got the Shield Slam, which basically wins him the game, right? So he probably wasn't even thinking straight. He probably thought that totem was still a 4-1, even though it just got healed.
Disaster. Well, there's a Hex in the hand, but it doesn't achieve all too much right here.
This is, honestly, this is game, I would say, from here on out. I don't know what Osha's even got left in the tank at this point in time. He's running on fumes. Those fumes are Alakir the Windlord, and even Alakir doesn't really provide you with much. This is where you're seeing him go face, but he's used both of his Rock Biters, so he's not going to have that huge burst from Alakir. There's still one Shield Slam and one Execute left. There's the other Shield Slam. And Tank Up is now starting to tick away.
Yeah, this is starting to look pretty dire for Osha, and we might just have our third 3-0 of the night on our hands.
He may be tempted to, yeah, to hex the Cairn. He can play Thing from below, so he can put threats on the board again, but Enzoth is just going to make too much of a war presence for me for there to be any way back into this game for Osha.
Well, it's actually going to make it for Mysterious rather than for you, Dan.
Sorry, am I not playing right now?
Still, Shield Slam just destroys the Thing from below. Execute in hand too, but Enzoth doesn't even feel that bad unless some random Bloodlust appears.
Well, I don't think that's that unlikely of a scenario in this deck. With the amount of minions that are often out.
I think Dan was calculating if Enzoth comes down and he draws Alakir the Windlord next turn, is there lethal for Osha? But I don't think there is.
There isn't, no. With the spell power for the totem, I think he's one off. If I'm calculating correctly.
You probably take your Alakir into the Infested Tauren that gets respawned. Then you get 3.
Oh, so then he's like 4 off.
We forgot about Flame Tongue. We have seen one Flame Tongue.
I mean, it means you can trade your...
It's the only totem.
1-1.
The only totem that didn't give Osha the chance to potentially contest this board. Loses the 50-50. Story of Osha's life, I think. Hearthstone life, anyway.
Yeah, he might use the Flametongue Totem just to use this 1-1 to take down the Infested Tauren and then possibly go face.
Yeah.
But Mysterious has the tools that he can influence this.
I think you have to go face, right, at this point. Like, trading with Sylvanas is never going to be a great endeavour. And nothing else looks particularly tasty either.
Yeah, I feel like Osha's just searching for a miracle now, just hoping for the 1% chance of him winning this game, but I think he knows deep down, but as a true competitor, he's not going to give up too early. I like this trade though. Using your 5-5, so it's not just a simple 5-5 trade from the Sylvanas.
Well, he's going to trade across the board a little bit as well. And actually, Fatigue maybe could come into play on this one, depending how long Osha can actually last here. Shield Slam and Execute still in hand for Mysterious, so he has ways of dealing with what's left of the board, and unfortunately, due to that trade that he made, that Execute is going to finish off the Thing from below. So now, Osha is in dire straits. He's got 3 totems on the board, but I don't think that's going to be enough for him.
I think Osha's only hope here is that Sylvanas trades into the taunt, so that then he can get spell power, take down Sylvanas before he puts Alakir on the board. But even then, we know Shield Slam's there, and that can deal with an Alakir. I'm trying to find ways for Osha to win. I
sure he is
think
too.
it's gonna happen.
I'm sure he is too. I believe Mysterious can just clear the board right now if he trades with N'Zoth first. Yep, and then Sylvanas into the 0-3. Or in fact, he's going to straight up Shield Slam the totem. I think he'll face. So Mysterious looking to try and end this game if he can. And that is going to be it. Osha is done with this one. He's not having any of it. And that is going to be the end of the series. Another 3-0 coming out. Can you believe it, guys? We've had 3 3-0s in a row. After I don't think we'd had one previously in this season of the Premier.